Hello everyone, welcome back to Iron Shield Media. Today we dive into the shocking reason behind Russia's arms industry collapse, a crisis shaking the foundations of a military machine once feared and respected across the world. For decades, Russia's defense sector symbolized raw engineering power, unmatched heavy weapon production, and global influence carved through tanks, missiles, and fighter jets. But beneath that intimidating surface, deep structural fractures have been quietly spreading, and now they're impossible to hide. The exterior of this crisis becomes clear the moment you examine the landscape of modern warfare. Russia once dominated global arms exports, but today its factories are strained, outdated, and unable to meet both domestic demands and international expectations. International sanctions have choked critical supply lines. Factories built during the Soviet era are operating with machinery older than many of the soldiers using the weapons. Giant manufacturing complexes that were once symbols of unstoppable defense power now operate with limited tools, limited manpower, and limited financing. The world sees the outside of this collapse through missed deadlines, defective equipment, and global buyers who are slowly turning away from Russian technology that can no longer compete with Western or rapidly advancing Asian alternatives. Inside these massive plants, the interior reality is even worse. Aging workers, diminishing skilled labor, and outdated assembly lines create an environment where production cannot keep pace with modern needs. Many components that Russia once imported, like advanced microchips, optical systems, high-precision guidance technology, and aerospace materials, are now blocked. This forces factories to improvise, downgrade systems, or simply halt production. The short version of the interior problem is simple: Russia cannot build modern weapons without access to modern parts, and the alternatives they try to produce domestically lack the reliability needed for cutting-edge warfare. Performance across Russia's weapons platforms has suffered dramatically. Combat footage reveals tanks with improvised cages, missile systems struggling with accuracy, and drones that rely on foreign-made components smuggled through third-party countries. The reputation Russia once enjoyed for rugged, durable machinery is now overshadowed by widespread equipment failures, reliability issues, and inconsistent battlefield results. The world has seen armored vehicles breaking down after minimal usage, missiles veering off course, and aircraft production falling to its lowest levels in decades. Even Russia's flagship next-generation jet, the Su-57, is produced in numbers too small to influence any major conflict. Performance isn't just declining, it's exposing the limits of an industry unable to sustain a modern war economy. Safety features in Russian weapons have long been a subject of criticism, but now they become a glaring weakness. Many tanks lack advanced crew protection systems, reactive armor is outdated or insufficient, and ammunition storage designs remain vulnerable to catastrophic explosions. In an era where Western weapons prioritize survivability, encrypted communication, and precision, Russian systems often rely on older Soviet principles of mass production over crew safety. The lack of modern digital security features makes their equipment vulnerable to electronic warfare, hacking attempts, and signal interference. As the rest of the world upgrades to tech-driven warfare, Russia's inability to implement advanced safety and digital protection features highlights the growing technological gap. Unique selling points of Russian weaponry were once affordability, simplicity, and ruggedness. Their equipment didn't have to be perfect, it just needed to work under harsh conditions at a lower cost than Western competitors. But that value proposition is collapsing. Production delays mean buyers must wait years for deliveries. Sanctions limit access to premium components, hurting quality. Some longtime allies are now reconsidering purchases because they fear political backlash or simply doubt Russia's capacity to deliver. Nations that previously relied heavily on Russian arms, India, Vietnam, Algeria, are diversifying their suppliers or building domestic programs. The global arms market is shifting, and Russia's traditional selling points no longer carry the same weight. Price has also changed dramatically. Russian weapons used to be known for their low cost, but with sanctions, supply shortages, and limited production capacity, the cost of manufacturing has skyrocketed. Russia is trying to compensate by raising export prices, reducing warranty guarantees, and cutting back on technological features. This makes their equipment less attractive compared to alternatives from China, Turkey, the US, South Korea, and even European firms. Meanwhile, many potential buyers fear secondary sanctions from the West, making Russian arms purchases financially risky. High price, lower quality, and long wait times, three factors that no defense customer wants, now define a sector that once thrived globally. The deeper collapse is fueled by corruption, mismanagement, and a Soviet industrial structure that never modernized. Many factories rely on outdated blueprints, and innovation has stagnated. Engineers with deep knowledge retired or moved abroad, while younger specialists seek jobs in the private sector because the defense industry offers low salaries and poor working conditions. With talent leaving and equipment aging, the entire sector is stuck in a technological time capsule. Paperwork manipulation, inflated budgets, and misappropriated funds have worsened the decline, leaving the industry unable to reform itself. Another major blow is battlefield losses. Russia has lost thousands of tanks, armored vehicles, artillery systems, and aircraft. Replacing these would require a level of industrial productivity Russia no longer possesses. Desperation-driven strategies, like reactivating Soviet-era T-55 tanks from the 1950s, reveal the shortage in modern available hardware. Factories that should be producing next-generation systems are instead refurbishing ancient machinery because it's the only feasible way to supply combat units quickly. The global perception of Russian military capability has also changed. Once seen as a major geopolitical force, Russia now appears vulnerable, stretched thin, and technologically outdated. International buyers, including some of Russia's closest defense partners, notice this decline and fear making long-term deals with an industry that cannot guarantee reliability, performance, or timely delivery. Trust is a valuable currency in the defense world, and Russia is rapidly losing it. At the same time, global competitors are evolving quickly. China has expanded its arms production dramatically, offering affordable hardware with modern features that challenge Russia's dominance in developing markets. Western nations continue to advance in stealth technology, precision-guided weapons, missile defense systems, and secure communication. Turkey has grown into a major drone exporter. South Korea is rising as a world-class tank and aircraft manufacturer. Russia's position is shrinking as the global arms industry evolves without them. Sanctions intensify every aspect of this collapse. Russia's inability to import high-tech electronics forces them to rely on black market components, often of questionable quality. Microchips taken from household appliances like dishwashers or refrigerators have been found inside military equipment. This improvisation might work in the short term, but it cannot sustain long-term modernization or large-scale production. Meanwhile, domestic companies that once provided financial or technical support are strained by economic pressures, currency fluctuations, and limited access to international markets. Another crucial factor is the fragmentation of Russia's industrial ecosystem. Different factories often lack communication, coordination, or standardized parts. This inefficiency results in mismatched components, inconsistent quality, and equipment that requires constant repairs. Even with increased government spending on defense, the lack of modernization means money alone cannot solve the underlying structural issues that have accumulated over decades. The geopolitical isolation Russia faces further weakens export opportunities. Many nations fear secondary sanctions from the US or Europe, choosing safer alternatives even if they cost more. Russia's traditional markets are shrinking and new customers are rare. Without export revenue, funding becomes tighter, research stagnates, and innovation dies. Despite the collapse, Russia is attempting to project strength by highlighting isolated successes, showcasing prototype weapons, and claiming breakthroughs. But prototypes do not win wars, and isolated achievements cannot mask widespread industrial decay. A modern arms industry requires functioning supply chains, advanced research facilities, stable financing, skilled labor, and international cooperation. Russia currently lacks many of these essential pillars. As this collapse deepens, Russia faces a strategic dilemma. Without drastic reforms, modernization, and technological breakthroughs, which are nearly impossible under current sanctions, the country's defense capabilities will continue to erode. For a nation that relies heavily on military strength for geopolitical influence, this decline threatens long-term national power, regional dominance, and global standing. In conclusion, Russia's arms industry collapse is the result of sanctions, outdated infrastructure, loss of skilled labor, financial pressures, corruption, shrinking global markets, and unsustainable wartime demands. The world is witnessing the fall of what was once one of the most formidable military production forces on the planet. As the cracks widen, Russia struggles to maintain its image, its influence, and its ability to sustain modern warfare. The collapse isn't just happening, it's accelerating, and the consequences will shape global military balance for decades to come.